what she said?
Let them eat cake.
He took the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. So glad to have you here today. Douglas Wyatt beat everybody in the chats. Good morning, peasants. Frazier, great day in Boise. So glad to have you guys. And that's it. That should be everybody there. That's a full roll call.
I'm typing as fast as I can.
Yeah, Doug. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man, Doug, very complimentary last night. Thank you so much. I was laughing my head off. So Doug posted on X in a conversation that we were kind of having back and forth. He goes, You know, I start my morning with Peasants Perspective, and he's on the East Coast, so 9:30 to 11-ish. And then he jumps over to Bannon, and he says, I realized that I only listen to right-wing podcasters that I did prison time with. He was in Danbury with Steve Bannon taking a civics class from him, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so funny. You know what I mean? Like, anyways.
Everything I know about civics, I learned in prison.
I learned in prison from Steve Bannon and then Taylor, the peasant, also. Oh, man, that really busted me up. But you know what? Doug Wyatt has seen the hard times with us. So, you know, all that's awesome. Anyways, very fun. Frazier, you said a great day in Boise. John Atakis, good morning. Carlito and Tiffany, good morning from the tube. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you guys here. And I know why you showed up bright and early, for us at least, 9:30 a.m. Doug, you're probably already halfway through your day. You're here for the simultaneous sip, and all you need is a cup or a mug, a glass, a tankard, a chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug, vessel, or flask of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like branched chain amino acids and some post-workout drink here for an unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. And it starts right now.
They want to ban straws. Has anybody ever tried those paper straws? They're not working too good, right? Has anybody ever tried, seriously, the new straw, it's made out of paper, right? It disintegrates as you drink it. If you have a nice tie like this tie, this would have no chance. By the time you get finished, the straw is totally disintegrated. Does anybody walk around with a plastic straw? Because it's not bad. You know, you whip it out, boom, boom. You never had to do that. So they want to ban straws. I said, what about the carton? What about the plate? What about the knives and the spoons that are plastic? Well, they're okay. But the straws we got to ban.
I love it. President Trump, the absolute deal maker. I watched a really great, about 26-minute podcast clip with Peter Tickton, and I don't remember who he was with, but he was talking about basically they've figured out what the Democrats' plan is. The Democrats' plan is to win. There's like 22 Republicans that are up for re-election this year, which is an odd year that we're so many. So if the Democrats can grab a handful of those senatorial seats, they have enough to impeach Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, which is their plan, which then puts whoever's the Speaker of the House is in charge. And if they get the House, which they've only need a few seats to get, guess who our new president becomes in the next 2 years? Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh, boy.
So Barack Obama gets a fourth term in office. And he's very concerned. This is their plan. This is what they're working for. And when you see everything that the Democrats are doing, that's what they're heading for. So Peter Ticklin's like, it's incredibly important to fix the elections. But he also said one thing happened. One thing happened. Of all the things that we know, of all the technologists that have looked at this, of all of the intelligence whistleblowers and all of the lawsuits, there was one thing happened in 2025 that is a smoking gun. A candidate down in Texas went to get the ballot who voted, the ballot registrations. And then they called him back and said, oh, we have a different list for you. And he went and got a different list. The first list showed all the duplicates. The second list had been scrubbed. Caught him cold, red-handed, right? And he says that is the thing that's starting to put a wedge, because it cannot be denied. You know, the John Cornyn's of the world and these other guys, they can't wiggle out of that one. They can't say, oh, this is just your narrative. This is just your opinion. We can't trust this technologist. Oh, the cyber ninjas have a weird name. You can't trust anybody named cyber ninjas. Right? Oh, Patrick Byrne, who cares about him? Emerald Robinson, she's not even on TV anymore, right? They can't do that when their guys gave the list, and it's starting to go. And of course, Donald Trump is pushing the Save America Act. So it is absolutely critical. Donald Trump is a deal maker. And that's what Peter Ticklen said, because they went to high school together. They were roommates in military academy.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't. So this goes way back. Like, he knows this man. And he's like, I trust him with my life, as we all do right now. And he says, I knew he was smart. I knew he was smart back then. He says, I had no idea how smart he is, the way he's solving the world problems, the way he's doing it. And he says, so I trust him that he knows what he's doing, and he's not going to let this country go. He says, the oppression of communism and the oppression of losing your country, you lose a child, and he says, you recover. You know, you lose these, it's like you can get through the pain because society will lift you up. But when you lose your country, every day you wake up to the empty shelves, you wake up to the oppression, to the police brutality. He says it never goes away. And he says when they talk to people who flee Cuba and flee these other countries that have lost their country, they're just, it's like losing everything all the time, every day. Yeah. It is your homeland. It's
the worst Truman Show ever.
It's the worst Truman Show ever. And he says he believes Donald Trump is committed to not let that happen. So hopium straight to the veins. Now, keep in mind, he's desperate, right? I mean, he's working for Tina Peters. He's trying to get her out. I mean, he understands these guys up close, but he's like, trust Trump. Okay. I mean, he's the only guy that can make a difference. The rest of us are just screaming into microphones at 6:38.
Well, we just spoke to Israel a little while ago. I think they'll be very happy. This will be peace for Israel, long-term peace, guaranteed peace. If this happens, and I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to. My life is a deal. That's all I do is deals my whole life. I think this is something that's going to happen. And why wouldn't it happen? So tomorrow morning, sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal. What we have.
So it sounds like some of the, I guess there's the IRGC, and then there's like the Quids Guard. Sounds like one of the Quids Guard has stepped up, some general, and he's like, listen, I'll take out the IRGC. And thanks for the help, by the way. And I'm moderate, and I'll help run the country. As Trump said, we just need a thug that'll play ball. Okay? We need a thug that'll not beat his people and just play ball. So it sounds like they found a thug, doesn't want to be identified quite yet. And so there was a huge shift in the market yesterday. Did you feel it, Ron?
No.
Did you feel the shift?
No.
So this was the Chinese market yesterday. Go ahead and click on that. So that's what the Chinese stock market looked yesterday. If you notice, it's all in the negative significantly. So
it's all red. I get it now.
God, it's bad. So China lost 2.7 trillion won yesterday.
Whoa.
In a matter of minutes. So this initial report here was China 2.7 trillion. That's 375 to 400 billion. India lost. USA had a dip, but I'm going to show you how that resulted by the end of the day. Rest of Asia and Europe, 300 to 500 billion. So there was 1.3 to 1.8 trillion loss. A loss of this scale in a single day is why it feels like a mini global crash. Well, yeah, except for here in the United States, most of that money came here. Look at this. Okay, we had the opposite. Everything went up, like almost across the board. Okay. $970 billion, almost $1 trillion has been added to the U.S. stock market in just 50 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to make a deal. I've just been making deals my whole life. Look at all the deals he made right there.
Jeez.
That is a tsunami of money coming back home, buddy.
You know, I got fooled by the first picture because I thought all those red things, I thought it was just red because it was China. I was like, what am I looking at? It's just China flags.
It's just China flags. No, it was all their stock market numbers. So we took in almost $1 trillion in 50 minutes.
Wow.
Because why? Because I'm going to make a deal. See, those guys know what's going on. The money knows what's happening. Okay, the money gets it. That's great news. Great news.
2 to 3 more weeks, we could take out the debt.
Yeah, seriously.
If we had enough people to make deals with.
Those baby Trump accounts were kicking butt yesterday. Holy smokes. I love it. So a couple things, not housekeeping items, but just for your information. So apparently those of us that are kind of Luddites and we kind of reject technology, I'm one of those guys. Like,
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm struggling with technology. I don't want to live this way. Okay. But I am looking forward to the robot doing the dishes. I mean, I'll be honest, because I'm probably going to have to adopt some of it. But yesterday, the FCC added all foreign Wi-Fi routers to its banned list for national security reasons. Are there any Wi-Fi routers made in the United States? Frazier,
no.
You're probably going to hear this. Is kind of interesting. New routers from overseas can no longer be approved or sold in the United States effective immediately. Routers you already own or bought are still fine to use, but all new routers are banned.
Oh my gosh.
So if you need a router or you need a modem, I'd go get one, put it, set it in the box because it might be a while before they start spinning up manufacturing here.
If people understand this correctly, people are going to start buying network stuff like they were hoarding toilet paper. I mean, jeez.
There's the picture on here is an old Linksys router from circa 2000.
Yeah, everybody's got one of those.
Yeah, it's gonna
in a box somewhere.
It's gonna come back, man. They're gonna come back. Dad, your garage full of computer stuff. Bring it out. Numbers wise, yes, many are from outside the USS. Many, like all Linksys, Netgear. Like I was looking at the list of them. It's like I don't even know if there is one that's made in the U.S. Maybe Netgear has a line of them that's made somewhere in Iowa.
I can't think of one.
Now, this has to do with if you
know what they're going to do? They're going to start like putting them together like they put together trucks in America. And, they'll be made, quote unquote, in America.
Are we going to be like Cuba with their vehicles? Yeah. We're going to be like our own version of routers. Like, well, I got a Linksys antenna and I got a Netgear motherboard. Yeah. So what this is a result of is this is the new tech that's come out where they can map you, right? Where they don't need to hack your security camera feed. They just hack your Wi-Fi router and they can see through walls. Mm-hmm. It's that Batman episode, where everything becomes
it's the same thing radar. That they use for driving their cars around in Blade Runner.
Yeah. So apparently this is a very serious national security threat, which makes sense because this is the technology we're using to identify Iranian officials. We're just hacking routers and stuff. When Iran says all we need is a picture and we'll find them, they're using this kind of Palantir AI technology to do what we have been seeing in movies, like in real time. That Batman thing, that was the thing with Venezuela. They had the goggles on where they can see around the corners. We saw the video where the guy put on the goggles and you could see around the corners and shoot the guy that was coming behind the storage container.
It's incredible.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with Wi-Fi. Now, the world is entering a new phase because obviously there is a global cabal that really wants you to eat bugs, stay in your house, and die. But I don't know how else to put it. So this is Shannon Joy. She's talking about a new agenda which has started. This is happening right now around the world. Thank goodness for Donald Trump. It's probably the only reason it's not happening here.
I mentioned that the IEA chief basically said the shit is hitting the fan. Everything's falling apart. And he just published Lockdowns 2.0, an energy lockdown playbook. They released a 10-point plan over the weekend telling governments to restrict driving, ground flights, force remote work, and ban gas cooking. They called it sheltering from oil shocks, writes Aaron Day. Here is the plan. Number one, they are recommending alternating driving days based on your license plate number, odd plates on Monday, even plates on Tuesday, and countries are now already implementing this. They are recommending mandatory speed limit reductions on every highway, not for safety, but fuel rationing by another name. You can still drive, just slower and less often. Number 3, avoiding all air travel where alternatives exist. They didn't define what that actually meant, but the ambiguity, writes Aaron Day, is the feature. It lets regulators decide after the fact whether your trip was essential or not. Non-essential versus essential. Does that ring any bells? Here's another one. Switch from gas cooking to electric. The IEA is now telling you what appliances you can use in your kitchen. And the same agency that published net zero by 2050 is calling now for thermostats to be capped at 19 degrees and a ban on new gas boilers. This is not new, it's accelerating. And then work from home if possible. The guidelines mimic 2020 when they locked down the world and called it public health. In 2026, they're locking down movement and calling it energy security. The template is identical, writes Aaron.
So this kind of
Where did you find this clip?
This is Shannon.
What is this all about?
Shannon Joy. This is happening.
What is going on?
Well, Ron, where have you been? There's a war in the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz is closed. So the world has to collapse. The entire economy has to fall apart, or else what's the point of this?
Man, I'm American. Screw that.
Well, okay, so let's flash back in time because, history repeats itself, but the cycles are getting shorter and shorter. So 5 years ago, we were doing the COVID thing, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing was, the conspiracy was we're going to be locked down forever. That this is the new way, you're going to die in your houses. And the idea, when it first happened, they were like, hey, we're going to get a vaccine, but it's going to take years. It's going to take years. So while this pandemic just circles the globe for 2 or 3 or 4 years and we lose billions of people, but eventually we'll find a vaccine and we'll crawl out of our houses and we'll feel the sunlight for the first time in years. And we'll be so grateful to our overlords who spent all of our money to provide the vaccine. Right?
Gaslighting us.
Yes. Well, then Donald Trump goes, Operation Warp Speed. If you got to go through hell, go fast.
Yeah.
And then by the time he left office, we had a vaccine. Now, was it a bioweapon? Probably.
Yeah.
But we had it, and there was no more excuses. Everybody could take the jab. There was no excuse not to go to work anymore. And the COVID lingering lockdowns and lingering regulations felt tyrannical and abusive and despotic.
Absolutely.
Which before it felt like, hey, let's lock down. We're common good. This is a pandemic. Who cares about money if we're dying? And all of a sudden we're like, we're not dying. Let's go make some money.
Yeah.
So Donald
Trump, that was like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, some of us were at like 2 weeks, but a lot of people, it took the vaccine for them to go, oh, okay, well, I have the vaccine. I'm protected. I mean, we play the newscast and they're like, the people that shouldn't be working are the unvaccinated.
I was all about, soften the curve for 2 weeks. After that, forget it.
Well, I get it. Oh, we're on the same page.
Okay.
But the rest of the world, again, once the vaccine was released, there was no more justification for lockdowns because you can just take the vaccine.
True.
So all of a sudden the economy opened up, and this was Trump. Listen, if we got to crash the economy, the K-shaped recovery, he wanted it to come right back. Here's your line. Toot, toot. He wanted a K turned on its side, a dip and a rebound. And by the time he turned the economy back over to Biden, it was as good as it had been before.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally was like a summer of hell, and then we're back at it. And
then
Biden
was like, print money, cut oil lines. We got to do whatever we got to do to kill this economy.
That's exactly what he did. Let's cut the Keystone XL pipeline. Let's do all this stuff. A lot of his policies would have made sense if we were on a global lockdown. They didn't make sense because we weren't. Well, here it is down in Australia. This is a woman down in Australia essentially confirming the same thing because guess what? They're full steam ahead right now.
So a new lockdown is being introduced around the world. And no, it's not like the 2020 lockdown. They're calling it an energy lockdown. And what that means is that a lot of countries are now putting in measures like you should only work from home. You should only leave your house for essential travel. Airlines are also cutting their flights. American Airlines have just dropped their flights by 5% this week. Now, energy prices are going up, and it's going to become a situation where some people actually cannot afford to leave the house because energy prices are so high. If you go to your local petrol station right now, the prices are already up and the full effect hasn't even hit yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, the work from home situation, that sounds like a benefit for a lot of people. So I can get why for a lot of people that's awesome.
If you can work from home, AI can take your job.
But when you're having governments tell you only go out for essential travel or avoid any other travel apart from essential travel, not great. And remember, back in 2020, lockdown was only meant to be for 2 weeks. It lasted 2 years. And how far is this going to go to the point where it becomes mandatory? Because no one thought that that was going to happen in 2020, but it did. So could we go down that same road again? Is it going to be the same as 2020? What do you guys think?
Not if Donald Trump has anything to say about it, not the U.S. Now, we completely aren't hearing about this at all. But down in Australia, they've hit it. I mean, the gas pumps are closed. This is footage, and I saw this. I saw a bunch of footage yesterday from people in Australia walking into the grocery stores completely empty, Ron. The grocery stores were completely empty, not sparse, like the vegetable section or the vegetable and fruit section, you know, the nice area with all the fruit and everything laid out, only had a couple oranges or lemons. That was it. There was nothing in there. And they're walking around like the shelves are empty. They're like, what is going on? Australia has fully embraced this. This is a newscast from 7 News in Australia yesterday. This is the hype. Remember 2020? Hear the same thing.
Heartless criminals have started siphoning petrol out of cars parked on the street as the crime wave from the fuel crisis gets worse by the day. Now, the price of fruit and veggies across Sydney is skyrocketing as grocers try to cover their ballooning costs.
At the fruit and veg shop, the rising price of petrol leaving supply far from apples.
Rather than coming daily to the market, it's only coming maybe twice a week.
Pushing up prices, the worst produce transported from interstate, like broccoli and fennel.
Probably about 25% to 30% increases so far.
Impacting small business, food producer Elizabeth Hewson sources her ingredients interstate.
How long can I ride this out? And you don't really want to make a drastic change like increase the price straight away.
Today, 51 petrol stations across the state have run dry.
Whoa.
164 without diesel, but fuel still being bought in bulk. This at a Western Sydney servo.
If demand management procedures are required, that might be rationing, but firmly of the belief that it should be a nationally consistent approach.
Petrol thieves in Victoria targeting parked cars, prizing open fuel caps, siphoning tanks.
Shoppers adjusting their habits. Retailers.
Heartless criminals.
Can you believe this nonsense, man? Oh my gosh. So Donald Trump is going to do exactly what he did during COVID, Operation Warp Speed. He got him a vaccine before he left office, and all of a sudden, COVID kind of pittered out, right? There's no reason for it. And I'm sure the elites in the world were like, hey, we didn't quite get to the reset. Like, we hadn't broken people's spirits. We hadn't broken people completely. You kind of ruined the reset. You know what I mean? So they're back at it. They're back at it. Same policies, same countries, same people pushing it. They're back at it. Just another, Strait of Hormuz is closed. Jack up prices, making it, you know what I mean? Make it impossible to survive, lock people down, drive every other day, restrict fuel. That's what they're doing.
So is this the last shot before they lose all their power? I mean, is this the...
I hope so. I hope it's the last shot before they lose power. And again, a lot of this has to do with America's election system. It all ties back to that. We clearly are the ones leading this, right? We're clearly the ones that can fix this. If Donald Trump pulls off a deal and the Strait of Hormuz opens back up to full measure, the gas, you know, sometimes we get this there was a huge gas strike in Texas, by the way. A refinery went up. Pony Boy's not on here. He's probably out fixing it right now. Anyways, a lot of these gas, you know, when you see these big gas lines that have been blown up, it's 10% of their production or whatever. It's not everything. Like, they're still going to produce. But if the Strait of Hormuz gets opened back up and there's peace in the Middle East, it's going to make these guys look really silly. Because for one, all of these countries have no national security, right? They're not independent in any way. They don't have enough reserves. And second, you don't have ability to defend anything, which is why we get these runaway regimes like Iran that just does whatever they want, because as long as they have that tool, the Strait of Hormuz, then they can get anything they want from anybody, because Australia can't afford to do that. But now that it's here, they're taking advantage of it. How long is it going to last? I guess it's up to Trump. See if he can open up the Strait of Hormuz. We're fine. We have energy production. And I think Donald Trump is not doing the globalism thing where it's like, oh, I'll lock down my citizens so that we can give gas and oil to Thailand. So on a different topic here, we often talk about the Islamic issue. And there's this one kind of hit close to home for me, because this comes from my church, the Mormon church that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. And you as well, Ron. So here's, you got a picture of Dallin H. Oaks to get today in the Salt Lake City with President Dallin H. Oaks. This is from Zaire Saul, whom I got to know since 2012. So they've had a working relationship since 2012. Mm-hmm. As he is the 18th president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I extend our condolences for the loss of President Nelson. We updated President Oaks on our latest initiatives to bridge inequities in healthcare and peace building, and thanked him for the church's longstanding partnership. As a gesture of appreciation for this humanitarian service, we presented him with an award of several photographs from our programs in Gaza, Syria, Sudan, and Ukraine. Oh, okay. He commented about the fact that children should be at the center of our service as they represent the future of humanity. Okay, so that's all great. They've got this advisory council together, but somebody posted on this and they dug in a little bit deeper. And they're like, first of all, this guy that he's meeting with, this friendly doctor, everything's all smiles, but he's got ties, and not just ties, he's Hamas. Okay. And the Mormon Church has given him $1.9 million in just a single year. And Med Global, his company, works with Hamas. Dope. He's Hamas. They publicly advised partners in Gaza's Hamas-run Ministry of Health. He also is photographed with senior figures tied to Al-Qaeda's Syria branch. Okay, Hamas is a designated U.S. terrorist group, and the LDS Church has been funding it directly. A separate LDS Church has sent at least $119 million of aid to them. Okay, directly. 64 million went alone to Islamic Relief, a group of leaders who have partnered directly with Hamas officials in Gaza, even after October 7th, and whose branches have been flagged by multiple governments for Muslim Brotherhood terror ties. They've been declared Muslim Brotherhood terrorists. Millions are flowed to other groups with histories of funding Hamas fronts. The LDS Church has also partnered with several of the same networks. When charity money and supplies end up supporting groups that work hand in glove with Hamas and other extremists, you're not just feeding civilians, you're quietly subsidizing terrorism and Islam under the banner of compassion. The photo isn't just a nice interface moment. It's visual proof of how millions of well-meaning Mormon donations have flowed towards networks backed by terrorists. So then it gets even more nefarious here. The LDS Church donated $25,000 to build Utah's largest mega mosque, the Utah Islamic Center. And turns out they've been funding a lot more than that over time. Turns out $200,000 Med Global received, and up to 1.9. We already mentioned that. So a lot of the same connections here. And there was this clip here, right here. So this is Rair. This is the equivalent of Kair or APAC for
Israel.
This is Rair is the same thing for Islam.
A lot of people have no idea about Utah.
It's not on the map. The way I put it, it's a well-kept secret. The numbers range anywhere from 30 to 60,000 Muslims from Ogden to Provo. Most stores are not allowed to sell liquor. So we've had people taking the Shahada on a weekly basis. I've been imam in the state of Utah for 24 years, and I have never in my 24 years seen so many people taking the Shahada as I've seen this year.
But that is conversion.
Whoa.
That's the story with every masjid. Allah's help comes through. Most people who are driving past cannot tell this is a masjid. Even though there's a 40-foot minaret out there. Our priority was not to make it big and beautiful. Our priority was to make it fun.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
My name is Shuaib Dean, and I am the imam here at Utah Islamic Center. Our history is typical to any mosque in America. We started in 2007 by renting in a strip mall, and we rented for 13 years, and we purchased land in 2014. Then we again started collecting funds, and we started construction in 2019.
Can we go back a little further? Do you know about the history of Muslims in Utah?
Muslims in Utah, they have been here for quite a while. I would say since the 50s and early 60s.
So he goes on to describe how they got funding from the Mormon Church.
Huh.
Interesting. So the Mormon Church's money is definitely making its way to Al-Qaeda and Hamas. And that, as I went through that, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I wanted to open the door because I know that we have some listeners that share the same faith. And it is one of those things where it's like, listen, I don't care the theology of it. I don't care if you believe that the prophet or whatever is infallible, then we speak across the gulf because he's just a human. And I'll even cast a cloak of charity and say that they are ignorant of it, that they truly believe that this money is going to charity and interfaith relations. But do you think for 1 second the Islamist thinks that?
No.
So they're going to take them. Yeah, it's for charity. I'll give it to the kids. Go buy some RPGs.
Right. This is the same thing as giving EBT cards to a bunch of homeless people.
That have never worked
what do
a day
you
in
think they're
their
going to do with it?
Yes, it's this. This is what I need people to understand. Do not project your virtue onto other people. Okay? Trust must be earned. It is not given. Okay? If you want to trust somebody and there's one strike, that's it. You've got to then go, okay, trust but verify every time. This is one of those instances where, you know, the Mormon Church is wildly charitable. And to them, $1.9 million is a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. They've got $1 billion fund that they have been told that they're supposed to spend on charity. They haven't done it yet, but, you know, allegedly it's there for charity. So $1.9 million is a drop in the bucket. But when you're giving it to Islamists, okay, do not forget they have one agenda only.
We don't say that Islam is here to live, you know, to coexist with lots of different religions and all of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion was sent to dominate the world. It was sent to be superior, to extinguish the light of every other religion and to be superior to it. In fact, we're not shy to say it, and we don't find that to be something that we should be shy to say. That this religion has been sent to dominate, to wipe out, to take out every other religion, to eclipse it, to be superior to it, to have the people leave every religion and to accept Islam. And if that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest.
There is no crossover here. Okay.
Jeez.
So unless you're handing the money or the food to a child in Gaza yourself, you cannot have them as an intermediary. End of I mean, it just common sense, folks. You know, I mean, hello, you don't give Governor Boggs campaign donations in Missouri circa 1837 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like with the extermination orders on. You don't do that. You don't go fill his coffers with money so he can get reelected after he's thrown you under the bus. Now, Tucker Carlson wrote a book that I quite enjoyed. It was called Ship of Fools. And in the book Ship of Fools, he said some things that were very apropos. So we've got some clips. They showed up today. Okay, so this is from Ship of Fools by Tucker Carlson. Imagine a place where women are punished for being raped, a place where women are murdered for having affairs, a place where women lack equal access to basic health care, not just abortions, where women can't use public swimming pools and are required to have a male guardian without whose permission they cannot travel and obtain a passport or even get married. This is not a Margaret Atwood novel. This is a real place called Saudi Arabia, one of America's most significant military allies and a major sponsor of conservative Islam worldwide. In Saudi Arabia, every woman is subject to the authority of a wali, a male guardian who is typically her husband, father, or other family member. Women require the wali's permission to do almost anything of importance. A woman who disobeys her wali can be in prison. Other countries governed by Islamic law customs follow similar principles, distinguished only by a greater level of violence. So they all believe this. It's just a matter of how much you enforce it or not, right? So it's just how much violence, which has to do with the majorities and things like that. So then he goes on to say in another page, in 2006, a reporter for The Guardian visited a genital mutilation ceremony in Indonesia, not Afghanistan, not some back town in Egypt, in Indonesia. So this is Southeast Asia, an annual event held every year on the lunar anniversary of Muhammad's birthday. Hundreds of girls, some infants, lay on desks at a local school and waited to have their genitals mutilated with scissors. An Islamic organization sponsored the event. For every daughter they brought, parents received $7 and a bag of food. It is necessary to control women's sexual urges The event organizer explained to The Guardian, they must be chaste to preserve their beauty. Okay. Attitudes like this are common in the Muslim world. The UN estimates about 200 million girls have undergone genital mutilation, including virtually every woman in Somalia. Thanks to mass migration, these customs have arrived in the United States. In 2017, 3 Muslim women immigrants from India were arrested for running a female genital mutilation ring out of 6 medical clinics across Michigan. At trial, prosecutors estimated that as many as 100 girls may have undergone clitorectomies. Honor killings are now a new feature of American life. In July 2008, a Pakistani man living in the suburbs of Atlanta strangled his 25-year-old daughter with a bungee cord because she wanted to end an arranged marriage. Speaking through an Urdu translator at this arraignment, his father declared, "I have done nothing wrong." So that was Tucker Carlson a couple years ago when he wrote that book, Ship of Fuels. This was him yesterday.
See it. There's not a single Western city that's thriving. They're all degrading in exactly the same way. Is a lot of it just a moral decay, or is it actually true? It's a lot of things, but it's self-hatred. Every city, crazy. Every European city, every American city. It's just why people lose their will to live, their will to pass on their culture, their values, their religion to their children, their will to have children. It's all gone.
Why would I have the will to continue in my faith tradition when we're feeding that faith tradition? Right? Why would I continue to want to pay my taxes when I watch you paying $40 billion a year to the Taliban still? Was that ransom money? You know what I mean? Why would I? Yeah, of course the West is dying. You've been bled out. Your virtue has been weaponized against us because we've been feeding our enemies.
I mean, it's not gone with everybody, but I mean, in the cities, you really see it. It's like the people who built this are long gone and their descendants have fled and they don't care enough to keep it going. There's just a lack of self-respect that is disgusting to me, and I have contempt for it. It doesn't bother me to be hated. What really bothers me is when people hate themselves. If you hate, if you hate yourself, how are you going to treat me?
That's correct.
Oh man, I don't like it. So I notice it because I travel outside the Western world, the white world. I'll just be honest, the white world. I travel a lot in the Middle East. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm not Muslim, obviously, but I'm like Christian, flat out Christian. My ancestors are from Europe. And so I have nothing in common on that level with the Gulf, but you go to the Gulf and it's incredible to be in a place that has pride in itself, that believes in its religion and culture, that thinks we're onto something. And this is great. Look at what we're doing. We're really proud of this. Those people are happy. They're welcoming of others. They're tolerant of diversity. Like always tolerant of diversity. There's none of that here. Are you kidding? All the whites, we love black people. Then they run and move to Bozeman because there are no black people.
Absolutely. Send their kid to the...
They hate diversity.
They hate it.
And our version of it isn't working at all. At all. So, but you go to a country like Japan or the Emirates or Qatar or Saudi Arabia, and you see that when people are self-confident, when they're really pleased with what they're doing and they believe that their system is the right system, that self-confidence results in a kind of welcoming attitude. So you'll be sitting at dinner in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and you'll say, I'm really kind of pro-Jesus. Like I'm a Christian. They'll be like, that's so great.
And they don't have the same...
Well, they mean it.
And they don't have the same belief.
No, they're Muslims.
They're Muslims.
It's a country governed by Sharia law.
Right.
And they're like, that's great.
Good for you. Yeah.
It's great. And you notice like
good for you. We're coming though. We're coming for you though. Good for you.
In ISIS or Al-Qaeda or like the Muslim extremists, they're all from like collapsed, pathetic societies dominated by colonial powers. They've been degraded. And that's why they're so angry. Right? So there's something about being degraded that turns you into a violent nutcase extremist. You're seeing a lot of violent nutcase extremists in our country. Not surprising because the country's being degraded.
Divinity 143 said, is this a Tucker watch party or a clip? It's a clip. But stick around. It'll be fun when we get over. You'll hear us give our opinions.
So in a country with self-confidence, people are tolerant and open-minded and happy. And in a country where people are told to hate themselves, they start to hate others. Duh. This is all like very obvious, but I only know that because I've traveled a lot. And I am naturally open-minded. Like, just because you don't do it my way doesn't mean it's bad. Like, I really feel that way. It's where they're into things that I'm not into, like, I don't know, polygamy or Islam. And I can sort of look at it and be like, no one's forcing this on me. I'm not mad at you for being a polygamist. I think it's really hard, but whatever, leaving that aside. But I can go to a place like that and I don't feel like I need to judge everybody on their local customs. I just don't feel that need. But in the process of doing that, like you get perspective on your own society. And the core problem is a loss of faith in our people, in our values, in our religion. You just don't believe anything. I don't care.
And I think that's the core here. So Tucker Carlson took a lot of heat on this clip because he eventually goes on to say, if you look around, you see these clean cities and these, Dubai looks amazing. UAE looks amazing. Well, yeah, they have pride in themselves. They're capitalists, clearly. But they have one thing that Sharia does provide: law and order.
Rule of law.
Rule of law, that incredibly important thing. And when through the Warren Court, literally the Warren Court, who gave criminals tons of rights, like way more than they needed, that is what led to the degradation of our cities. I mean, there's a direct effect from those decisions under the Warren Court, the Supreme Court, to New York falling apart and Chicago falling apart. Can't stop and frisk. Can't do all these things that would have done law and order. And so we end up with this situation where people lose pride and confidence that we can do it. I heard Milo Yiannopoulos say this one time. After World War II, there was a crisis of confidence in men because men had drove the world to the brink of destruction. And so men sat back and go, maybe we don't have the answers. Ladies, would you like to give it a try? And that's basically where we're at now. Is we've got equality of the sexes, but we don't have equality of outcome, right? Because mothers don't ensure equality of outcome. Men are kind of concerned about justice and things like that. It was really interesting. But the solution to this is not to give money to the people who are trying to take you over. It's not to give money because, well, they've got self-confidence and they'll take the money. It's to restore confidence in ourselves. It's to come back and say, no, my beliefs are right. And that if I live a Christian life and I teach my children to live the Christian life, that our communities will be better, that we take pride in ownership. We clean our properties. You know what I mean? It starts with private property. Make your bed. Make your bed. Keep your business storefront clean. Get involved in your local cities. This is why, like at the end of yesterday, the tab, the link I put, go watch the show yesterday. What was it? Tab is Take America Back. Tab USA.
Oh, that's right. Take America Back. It's the website that shows you all the open seats that are available for
get
election
involved.
cycles. I
got feedback that someone that site was referred to was thinking about running for justice of the peace. Yes, go do it. Get involved at any level. All right, Divinity, good morning. Divinity 123. You asked about the Tucker clip. Yep. Okay. Nope, not us. Amen. Make America God-fearing again. Yes, I have a picture on the laptop that the FBI nuked that was from January 6th in the yard. And it said, only prayer can save America. And I completely agree with that. You know what I mean? It's like that is the thing we need, is we need a reinvigoration in pride of what we've accomplished. The Mormons should be the most prideful people in the United States. Why? You settled the West. You settled the West from Idaho to Arizona to Nevada to Denver, all the way into San Francisco. You settled the West, but you don't ever have that pride. You know what I mean? It's almost forgotten. No, your ancestors walked into the freaking frontier and turned the desert green. Have some pride in that. Don't be giving your money away to people who are going to massacre people because of faith differences. That's not what it's all about. There's another Pony Boy. Sad to hear that you're having a stomach bug. I hope you get better. There's another gentleman here. This is General McMaster. Now, General McMaster is a McMaster of deception. Okay? This is one of those guys that rose through the ranks, and I don't know a ton about his history, but here's what I do know. General McMaster could have prevented Ukraine-gate, where Trump got impeached because of the perfect phone call with Ukraine. General McMaster was sitting as the head of ODNI at that moment. He was in Tulsi seat, and he basically allowed Schiff to leak that phone call and then didn't come out and say, hey, the phone call doesn't match the transcript. And Trump had to fire him. And he's the one who allowed Eric Ciaramella, the name that shall not be named, or you would get banned from everything flat out. He's just a CIA staffer. Give me a break. But Eric Ciaramella is the one who leaked the thing. This man was the cover-up artist for all of that. And Trump had to fire him and bring in Rick Grinnell, who then had to send the underdeputy to go and say that the whistleblower complaint was properly handled. And there's nothing to it, folks. And they still proceeded with the impeachment anyways. So this guy is crooked. He's a criminal. He's part of the cabal. I don't know his total involvement. He's been a dark, shadowy figure climbing up through the ranks, but he's not, because he's out there. I think he writes for like Heritage Foundation or something. And what really bothered me about this one was someone I care and love for very deeply when I got back from prison was like, oh, you know who I really like that I listen to a lot is General McMaster. I was like, this guy is a proper, he's a fraudster. And again, there are certain things that if you do in them, you can no longer have an opinion. Okay. So if you think it's okay to unseat a United States president and allow an impeachment to go forward, when all you had to do was come out and say on day one, the whistleblower complaint has no validity. That's all he had to do. Instead, we had to go through that whole impeachment thing. That's all he had to do. And he chose not to do it. So yesterday, before there was the quote ceasefire, or 2 days ago, before there was the quote ceasefire, he was on and he is falling victim to the same thing Lieutenant Colonel McGregor falls victim to. Their sources suck. They're talking about Israelis attacking Russians in the Caspian Sea and things that are not happening. They are being willingly or retardedly are falling victim for Iranian propaganda.
General, isn't Iran's potential control of the Strait of Hormuz, wasn't that the most obvious card they had to play here? Why is it that it seems that the U.S. was not prepared for this?
Well, Adriana, we actually were prepared for it. I don't know where this narrative came out that it was a big surprise. I mean, we do an annual exercise with up to 30 countries and about the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and how to reopen it. And so what you're seeing in the campaign now, and I think this is really important to understand, is a continuation of the joint, the combined force of the U.S. and Israel prioritizing the missile and the drone capabilities, including their manufacturing capabilities, including their ability to reconstitute their missiles and drones with support from Russia and China. There are a couple of ships sailing right now with solid fuel from China. I don't think they're going to make it to Iran. And you saw the IDF in the last 24, 48 hours striking ships in the Caspian Sea in the far north of Iran because Russia was smuggling drones into Iran to reconstitute their capabilities.
That never happened. Iran put that out as propaganda. This guy's on CBS Morning News. He's a lying liar. Over and over again. He's a lying liar over and over again. So, to the dear family member who said, I love General McMaster. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't love General McMaster. Now, Jesse Waters is also a propagandist. But he is at least on, evening news and promotes himself as such. It's an opinion show. But he actually has a pretty good take on this. And again, I sift through tons of information. I try to read broadly and kind of bring this to you guys and tell you when things are opinion or not. But Jesse Waters, in his little monologue here, gets it. Okay. He's got it figured out. When you actually look at what's happening, once you get past Iran just bombed they sunk the USS Abraham Lincoln. Meanwhile, the guys on the ship on the Abraham Lincoln are like, did he? I missed that. Are we in heaven? You know what I mean? It's all AI. So Jesse Waters, kind of in this monologue, lays out the real condition in Tehran right now.
They sided with the Iranians. They think the Iranians are telling the truth, and Trump's just making it all up. These are the same Iranians who last week claimed they sunk one of our carriers. They lied about their nuke program and how many civilians they slaughtered. Maybe Iran's trying to look tough to keep their population in line. Or maybe, since they're all hiding with no cell phones, they don't know who's talking to who. The gay Ayatollah's MIA. The CIA thinks he's wounded, and he might not even know he's in charge. We haven't seen proof of life. And while he's on an IV drip, the Republican guards consolidating power. But some ran into the...
Okay, let me interject here. So yesterday, Trump said they're talking to someone, but he doesn't want to reveal who they're talking to. It's this general, and we're not even going to show his face today, but it's the general that's part of the Quids Guard or whatever. Well, the Ayatollah put out a statement saying he supports that guy yesterday. No proof of life, but you know, as far as the raging theocrats out there, if you could keep him with his gimp leg and his two gay lovers quiet and put out a statement like that, you might be able to consolidate power. And you know what I mean? So he's serving his purpose. Just stay alive and put out statements supporting whoever ends up taking power.
The woods and haven't been seen since. Literally.
Oh, this is funny.
But some ran into the woods and haven't been seen since. Literally. The head of Iran's militia escaped into a forest and pitched a tent. Ordinary Iranians spotted him making a fire, tipped off Mossad, and the IDF took him out with a missile strike. Reports say security forces are on the run.
The Iranian regime is in chaos. This is Hitler's bunker. Hitler is dead. Himmler is dead. Goring is dead. Most of what you're seeing are lone wolf activities.
Trump can't even say who he's negotiating with. It's too risky.
I don't want him to be killed. Okay? I don't want him to be killed. Mr. President, nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now, you know? Nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country, but perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Trump's announcing he's negotiating with the Iranians makes what's left of the regime not really trust each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody's looking around. Divinity says only joint jab, only God, or that's Pray the Rosary Daily, only God, Mick figures. Yeah. Divinity, I said what out loud almost got me with their propaganda. Yeah, exactly. Jesse Waters claps and swalling. Is that how you say that, Ron?
Showing. Is
that showing? Is that okay? So
Shine,
whatever it is. Shine. Okay. So Keir Starmer had to go before a military committee yesterday and be held accountable for, not defending the nation. This is one of those things. This is one of those things where the West has taken for granted their rule, right? They have a monopoly on force and things work. And the reality is, in a capitalist society, I'm pursuing my happiness. I'm going out, I'm just making some money, I'm raising my family, right? I find pleasure not in controlling and being overlording over other people. I find pleasure in watching my children play, or I find pleasure in the small accomplishments of life, like growing some tomatoes successfully. You know what I mean? We just want to live our lives, and our Western civilization allows most people to just go about their business.
Yeah.
So that's the plight of the peasant. A lot of times we don't realize what's happening in the world around us until it's almost too late, until the mosque is going up next door, until the traffic cameras are sending you a ticket every time you turn out of your driveway. We're like, what is going on? We have no idea why the Wi-Fi routers are being banned. It's like, well, because they're spying on you. To what effect? To what avail? Because they're advertising it for you. Oh, is that why my credit cards are maxed out? You know what I mean? So we're often late to the game. And part of that, too, is leaders become apathetic, because if they do need our votes, it's arguable 72 nations didn't need our votes. But the idea is that they would provide the necessary services first and foremost as national defense. But in times of peace, it's easy to ignore national defense and, I don't know, give Somali daycare providers money to watch kids that don't exist, or hospice care, or free housing for migrants crossing the English Channel into Europe from, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just makes sense. So Keir Starmer is being held accountable here, because as this conflict breaks out in the Middle East, which everybody saw coming, right? I mean, you've been paying blood money and ransom for years. What Iran has been doing to the West and to the nations that it provides oil was exactly what the Barbary pirates were doing in Thomas Jefferson's day. Give us the ransom and we'll let your ships pass. That is exactly what they were doing. The Islamic culture, it's part of it. Okay. Like, if they have control of a resource, they're going to toll it.
I was going to ask you if you could give us like a 5-minute recap on what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz from the perspective of why there needs to be an opening or a closing, or why there needs to be protection. Because in my mind, aren't all these countries that are trying to export through this strait, don't they want the ships to make it? Well, of course they do. Who's trying to stop them?
Only Iran.
Only Iran. Okay.
Only Iran.
Got it.
Now,
but is it Iran the government, or is it just Iran the people pirates?
It's Iran the government and now the pirates.
Okay.
So what happens is Carreg Island is a huge oil refinery, and so from there, oil makes it out and it goes to India and China. India and China resell that oil because they get it at a bargain discount because it's sanctioned.
Yeah.
But they're both big enough nations that they can give the U.S. the middle finger to our sanctions.
Right.
So they would repackage.
And they're operating in bulk.
They would repackage that wholesale oil and sell it to Thailand or Australia or anybody else that would buy it. But now it's Indian oil and now it's China oil, but it was coming out of Iran. So those ships have all stopped.
So hold on, though. So Iran is the one stopping the oil, but aren't they also the ones selling the oil? It's why I get confused sometimes.
They were selling it to India and China, bypassing sanctions.
Okay.
So
now
Iran shouldn't have been selling oil to anybody.
I'm so slow sometimes.
Yes, but they would fill it up, take it out the strait. It'd go into the Indian Ocean, and it'd go to India, it'd go up to China, and then they would get it at, 60 cents on the dollar, and then they'd turn around and sell it at 105 cents on the dollar to Thailand.
Got it.
Does that make sense? So that was going on. And then, of course, Saudi Arabia, that's their northern coast, and they've got refineries, and they've got ships that come out there and sell legitimately to Australia, New Zealand, and other allied countries that were buying most of their oil from Saudi Arabia. The pseudo-ally India and the non-ally China were getting it from Iran that should have been sanctioned in the first place. And of course, Iran was also getting oil from Venezuela. And then Iran was also supplying Cuba, and Venezuela would supply Cuba. So Iran was supplying all the bad guys with oil. Oh, and North Korea. Let's not forget North Korea.
And that's why Cuba's dry. Okay.
Yep. And that's why Cuba's dry. Once you cut off Venezuela and Iran, they can't be a customer to anyone.
I'm starting to fire on all cylinders now, Taylor. I just got what Divinity 143 was saying. Pitch in a tent. Swing. That's so funny. It's a Mike Myers thing from SNL a long time ago.
Okay. So Keir Starmer, right? And obviously, if you follow Promethean action, you understand that Iran was a big part of the British global banker scheme. And we covered this about a week ago because they were the off-balance books, right?
Mm-hmm.
The balance sheet that was off the books. So they had gold reserves that were unaccounted for, and so they could collateralize those and repackage them through the Middle East. And that kind of kept this whole fiat system going because you could always prop it up right when it was on the verge of collapse. That's going away. So you'd think that Britain would have an interest in all of this, but Keir Starmer failed to defend one of their military bases in Cyprus that got hit by one of these Iranian missiles. This is a fascinating exchange, and Keir Starmer gets all mad. This is a pillow biter right here. I'm telling you, this is like a pajama boy pillow biter.
We could even stop 150 kilometre per mile drone from getting through to hitting a sovereign base in Cyprus. That means we were unprepared. And the very fact that you immediately wanted to defend a destroyer meant you had failed to anticipate the need to defend Cyprus with a destroyer. But this smacks of a lack of war-fighting mentality that reaches right across the government, which is what we address in this paper about war-fighting readiness, where we are not at. And the chiefs of staff are saying, we need to be ready for war. So when are we going to be prepared, and prepared for what?
We are finalising the investment plan. That sits with the Strategic Defence Review.
It smacks of an enormous complacency.
Well, this smacks of the fact that for years there was underinvestment by the last government, and the stripping out, following out of our armed forces.
We've had 18 months
Copyright
to deal
Ben
with that.
Wallace, who was the
I'm not making a party political point.
Well, honestly,
I agree with Ben
14
Wallace.
years of underinvestment.
I agree with
18
Ben
months for
Wallace.
Labour government.
But take drones, for example.
We're picking up the underinvestment of your government.
We couldn't even...
British politics. These guys are so screwed up. They've had conservative leadership who would have been pro-military and all that stuff, but you had this undercurrent of of liberalism, labor. And guess what they wanted? Social services, free housing for immigrants. Why? To build up their voting base. And so they would constantly nip at the heels of conservative and chip away at that defense budget and their allies and all that, good old British hard work and Winston Churchillian attitude until they finally had enough migrants to fucking get in power. And then as soon as they get in power and the attack comes, which the conservatives had been warning for all along, right? Happens, he's like, well, it's their fault for spending all the money on our constituent base. That's the reading between the lines, what happened right there. And why is that? Because both parties have been caught up in one moral scandal after another. There was another scandal where, hey, remember Lord Mandelson and his buddy Andrew and Epstein? Did you know that they just coincidentally lost their phones with all the messages? I mean, straight up missing, like, boo, totally gone. And this isn't the first time this has happened when a political leader in England has gotten in some hot water. Entire messaging apps have disappeared, never to be recovered.
The Sun is reporting that Morgan McSweeney's phone has disappeared with many of his messages to Lord Mandelson on it, and no backup exists. You do understand why many people will find that very convenient.
Well, as I understand it, that was a theft that was reported months before the whole Mandelson situation even began.
No backup. Prime Minister's Chief of Staff has no backup of his messages.
Well, I don't know what he does or doesn't have in terms of
doesn't seem ideal, does it?
But his phone was stolen, and he reported it at the time, and it was well in advance of anything happening around the Mandelson situation.
I remember when Boris Johnson's phone, all the WhatsApp mysteriously disappeared on that. I remember Labour shadow ministers being pretty incredulous.
Yes, and that happened after he had been required to provide it. Morgan reported the theft of his phone months, I think it was maybe even over a year before the whole situation arose. So there's no comparison to be doing.
No,
the Sun is
no comparison. But British leaders are just in the habit of losing their information on the regular. Now, there's a Wisconsin sheriff, and he's from...
that reminds me of our local leadership. After Chaz Chop, they lost all kinds of text messages. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. And they had backup systems, and those backups got fried somehow. It was crazy.
It was a low price to pay. It was only a $30 million settlement to the parents of the kids that were murdered in Chaz Chop. Yeah,
right.
No, totally lost it all.
Yeah, for the kids that were murdered that never had a murderer go to prison. Okay.
Yeah.
Or charged or anything.
They got paid. They got a civil payment. Okay. It's like Ashley Babbitt. Same thing, right? Same thing. You're in an illegal zone. You shouldn't be there in the first place.
Right.
Shot. Oh yeah, no. We'll pay the black kids $30 million, but Ashley's family gets $5 million. Suffering's the same, by the way. The pain is the same. Speaking of, which we'll post this in a second. Okay, so this Wisconsin sheriff, Michael Brouchard, he's from Oakland County in Wisconsin. What is going on in Wisconsin? He had this is Michigan authorities. Oh, this is the Oakland. This is is it Oakland or Wisconsin? It's Wisconsin sheriff from Oakland County, Wisconsin. So he arrested somebody. Now, we just got done with the Afro Man case, right? Just got done with it.
Right.
Afro Man makes fun of lemon pound cake and Lick'em Lisa and the whole thing, right? And he's acquitted on all charges of defamation and slander and everything.
He was gonna be, but then he got high.
So this Oakland County sheriff in I'm seeing Pontiac, Michigan here live. I don't know why it's Pontiac, Michigan. It's in Wisconsin. But he arrested someone for posting a meme about him.
I'll give you this by way of example. Some pond scum felt empowered and emboldened enough to put this picture of me up to try to threaten and intimidate me, which, of course, he didn't do because I signed up for this. And by the way, the person that did this said a bunch of terrible things, not just against me, but against a lot of groups and individuals, who, by the way, was arrested today in Wisconsin. My point is this, though. If this person is emboldened and empowered enough or feels safe enough to do this for me, what does he do to a kid? What does he do to a Jewish family walking down the street? And that's because of the normalization of this, watching this on television and saying, okay, I feel empowered enough that I can do this. Well, A, you can't. And B, if you think you can do it to somebody that's in law enforcement, again, what are you going to do in an alley or in a street to a Jewish family or a kid walking down the street? We say no.
It's actually the other
Hold
way
me
around.
back, Taylor. I'm feeling empowered.
We do it because you're in law enforcement, right? Like, you're the one that we're allowed to criticize. In fact, criticism of government officials. I signed up for this. Damn straight you did. Criticism of government officials is what we are allowed to do. In fact, if you allow us to criticize government officials, we're less likely to get into an altercation in an alleyway. That's tyranny right there. I don't know anything about that, Sheriff, but the fact that he put up if this person was arrested and made serious, vile threats and had the means to fulfill the threats and whatever, put that up. Don't put up the picture of yourself with a Jewish star and curls and be like, this guy's a bad dude. And, if you do this to me, he'll do it to other people. We're supposed to do it to you. That's the promise of America. That literally is the promise of America. Now, juxtapose that with the Michigan kidnapper plot, right? Remember when those evil, vile conservatives, MAGA guys, the homeless one, the kid with autism, and the other guys decided to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer?
Oh, with the help of all the FBI guys.
Yeah, the Steve D'Annunzio, who then moved over to D.C. just in time to entrap me and my friend Doug Wyatt over here, right, into the J6 plot. Same people, same guy, right? So John Oliver, who's very left, but has a good head on his shoulders in the fact that he sees what he sees, okay? He talked about this Michigan Fed kidnapper plot. Now, the question I have for you is, we have this instance right here where these guys are still sitting in jail. The ones that took plea deals are still sitting in jail. The ones that went to trial, they were exonerated because, when you've got 18 people planning to arrest or kidnap the governor and 12 of them are feds, you don't really have a plot to kidnap the governor. You know what I'm saying? And when they're paying for it. In fact, one of the FBI agents was sleeping sex with one of the guys that they were entrapping. So that's your current FBI today. So yes, massive trust. So even John Oliver sees the irony in this.
Honestly, we first started looking at this story a few years ago, and it has changed how I've viewed every sting story that's made headlines since. Remember when that group of men were arrested for trying to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer? Guess how many confidential informants seem to help that plot along? I'll give you a clue. It is a lot more than you would like. And you don't have to sympathize with these men or agree with their views to wonder if that plan could have even gotten off the ground if there hadn't been as many as a dozen confidential informants involved and 2 undercover federal agents. Honestly, we first started looking at...
Jeez.
Exactly. And here we have another article from the Blaze Media, and this is coming from Joseph Hanneman and Steve Baker. I've met Steve Baker. He's a good man, okay? I've sat with him before my trial in the courthouse. He's a good guy, okay? And I believe this, like, just FYI. So Brian Cole Jr.'s physical presence, posture, mannerisms are no match to the FBI's hoodie-clad suspect. So the information here is the information that they took to the military intelligence, supposedly the CIA, and other police officials, and they all came back with, oh my gosh, the pipe bomber's one of ours.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as this story hit, we were covering it.
Yeah.
As soon as this story hit, bop, 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 Brian Cole Jr. gets arrested. There's a press conference, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Cash Patel. We caught the pipe bomber after 5 years. We have this autistic black kid that lived 20 minutes away.
Right.
We've got him dead to rights, and we're throwing him in solitary confinement. He's in prison right now. Like, it destroyed his life. Okay? Destroyed it. Absolutely destroyed it. No remorse. And by the way, the lead prosecutor in this case was the lead prosecutor in the Proud Boys case. Why she's still working at the DOJ, it makes my skin crawl. I'm getting emotional thinking about this right now. The fact that someone like Dan Bongino and Cash Patel, these champions for MAGA, walk into the District of Columbia, and they don't fire the 10 or so most horrible prosecutors. My prosecutor, Ashley Akers, and Clement, yeah, they left. They were low-level people. But the ones that prosecuted the Proud Boys cases and the Oath Keepers cases, that lied on the stand, that tapped the attorney-client privilege phone calls and emails, those ones should not be anywhere near the prosecution of any case anywhere in America ever. They've lost the right to do it. Any case they're involved in, that guy's innocent. I don't care. I don't care what it is. There's no level of fabrication of evidence. There's no level of depravity of what they'll put the people that they're charging with crimes through that they will not go to. There's nothing they won't do. If they were allowed to pull your fingernails out and waterboard you to get a confession, they would do it. Horrible people.
So unfortunate.
Okay? And you have to live through it. You have to live through it to see it, right? There's nothing they wouldn't do to you, and there's nothing they won't do to Brian Cole to make sure he takes the fall for this pipe bomb thing. So this article goes through, video analysis shows stark physical differences between Cole and the FBI's original person. 2 eyewitnesses described the gray hoodie suspect as a white male. Here's a picture of Brian Cole. He has autism. They bring his favorite food, the Big Bites from 7-Eleven, where he went every day. Here is where he's making what we believe is a false confession. Okay. And you go through there and it talks about autism and false confessions and how there's a very strong correlation. But the big thing is it goes through here and it talks about how Brian Cole's an outward foot angler. The pipe bomber is an inward foot angle. Head and body lean left. Steps cross over for the pipe bomber. Torso leans forward, whereas the pipe bomber has a straight trunk. The rear end protrudes for the pipe bomber, whereas this one, they have square shoulders and the rear end doesn't protrude. The height is different, 5'6" versus 5'7". The feet appear disproportionately large. The feet appear apportionate for the right. So Brian Cole wears a 12.5. The pipe bomber, they told us, wore a size 9. By the way, people who wear size 12.5s don't squeeze their feet into size 9 Nike shoes.
Ever.
We are uncomfortable with movement-based intelligence, probably because it exposes the primal reality of our hierarchies. The body does not care about political correctness. It communicates the truth your lawyer would advise you to bury. So it goes through about criminal gait cannot be hidden and how there's a long 150-year history of using gait analysis from experts to convict people. Cole can be observed on body camera. We have plenty of footage of both of them in natural environments. We have exact measurements. We know how big the squares in the sidewalk are to measure their gait. You can measure the hinge from their hip to their knee, all the different factors. It goes through here, and eventually it gets down to, I know him by his walk, right? The unique gait pattern may represent a movement strategy used by individuals with ASD to compensate for weakness associated with knee extensor muscles. The pipe bomber clearly had some leg injury. There was that perfect limp, which lines up perfectly with the Capitol Hill police officer that had to limp that now works for the CIA. Kind of like Chiaramella, the name that couldn't be named. This woman's name can't be named either. Rumble might ban us. Remember, Bongino's an owner in Rumble, and Bongino's behind this. So I'm not going to share it here on Rumble, and I'm letting you, my audience, know that that's why I won't share the name.
Oh, boy.
It's not because I'm afraid of a lawsuit. It's because this is the home and they pay me. I don't have loyalty. I'd love to go somewhere else. Just if enough of you support the show through some other mechanism, then we can host it on our own server if we wanted to. Okay? But Bongino stood on that stage and was like, we got our man on his birthday. So here's all the different stuff. Agents wondered if the injury would have accounted for the odd gait on the security footage. Again, more comparison. 12 to 12.5 foot shoe size. The pipe bomber was wearing a 9-foot shoe size. Witnesses described Cole's walk. Sonny Sandu, the 7-Eleven store owner, who he went to every day, said a minimum of 2 to 3 times per week during a 13-year period. I go, no way. That kid doesn't walk like that. This kid has no confidence in his stride at all. Cole has a goofy walk. That does not resemble the FBI's pipe bomb stuff, but there's no way. He was very robotic and socially awkward. Every time he came in here, it was always the same thing, same routine, right? So then it goes here. Eyesight appears different. There's different elements of that. The history of gait analysis even pulls in an old clip from an old UK case from 1837. I know the prisoner by the name of Thomas Jackson. I have no doubt of this man. I know him by his walk.
You know, what's also really weird is that the other person that is suspected has a very similar gait.
What similar? It's a 99.9% match.
Well, it's because it's the person, but you know.
So here's this AI and forensic gait analysis. The use of artificial intelligence to analyze the movements of individuals shown on surveillance video is an emerging method that claims up to near perfect accuracy. They're using gait analysis, and they tested this out during COVID when you wore masks. They wanted to be able to identify you with the smallest amount of features, and they've got pretty good at that. but it still has problems. Mask, glasses. There's sometimes not enough features to identify.
Right, it could get fooled.
But the gate analysis, they have, it's probably billions, but hundreds of millions of gate analysis on file. So when you walk into a Walmart, you could be completely masked. When you walk into a bank, you could be completely masked. They have your gate on file.
Yeah, it's
this
like
is
a
part of the
fingerprint.
real ID. They've got everybody's gate on file so they can figure out what the marketers are marketing to you, but they have to connect it to your name in order to make it legal, in order to get the warrant based on the gate analysis. They've got to make that connection. They have your gate analysis. Every time you walk into a store with surveillance cameras, they have your gate. Okay, that's how they're doing it. So surveillance analysis, a near perfect accuracy. Europe-based consultor Cursor Insight says its gate recognition achieved 98.3 accuracy using a single gait cycle, measuring only thigh and shank flexation angle on both legs. One step, they know who you are. And that's only with the two factors. Using other factors such as segment lengths and analyzing several gait cycles can increase accuracy to 99.9% or higher. How do you get higher than 99.9%? It ends up being 100%.
I'm going to make a really bad prediction. I'm going to predict that in 6 weeks, MAGA is going to be going into stores like,
You can't even hide that because they get all the other. Anyways, apparently you can't hide your gate.
I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, apparently you can't hide your gate because that's been used as a defense. Well, what if someone in there and tried to fake the gate and they're like, you can't fake a gate or hide a gate? Okay, so Cole, after his quote unquote confession, which is what we've confessed, case closed. His attorneys are contesting all of the confession. They're like, you guys coerced it and he didn't have an attorney present and he is autistic.
Yeah, you get a confession from somebody who's mentally handicapped, you should be charged with something. For real.
It makes me emotional about this because I know what this kid's going through. I know the jail he's sitting in. It's disgusting.
Ugh.
And he's not sitting with a bunch of other January 6 protesters. He's probably in Gen Pop with a bunch of drug dealers, drive-by shooters,
career
all these
criminals.
people that Janine Pirro's been so good about rounding up. I'm sure that jail is at capacity right now. And Brian Cole is stuck in there. It is horrible. It is horrible what's happening. Trump can't fix everything, okay? But Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Janine Pirro, who were all part of that, should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. And whatever is preventing them from at least releasing this kid, listen, we could have just gone on and on with a, hey, are you going to look at this pipe bomber? They needed to silence the building momentum towards the woman that was pointed out as the lead suspect. Okay. They had to silence that because she worked for Capitol Hill Police. Oh my gosh, that blows January 6th upside its head. Okay. She then moved to the CIA. Oh my goodness, she got promoted. And she was in a room with a loaded gun with our president.
Most people listening would not know that one.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Secret Service head that was in charge of his detail in the Butler rally married a foreign national without disclosure and has been suspended 3 times in the last 12 months for different activities. And she was part of the lead detail.
There's all kinds of weirdness going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's because Donald Trump is pressuring Republicans and Democrats alike to get their act together and freaking clean up this country and stop giving our money to the Iranians and the Hezbollah,
to everybody else,
the illegal documented immigrants. And he would like to have free and fair elections.
The appalling lines and massive disruptions at major airports nationwide last weekend. I am again demanding that Democrats in Congress immediately end their disgraceful shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security and restore the full funding for airport security and the TSA. They are holding it up because they want to take care of illegal immigrants coming into our country. They want to take care of criminals that are in sanctuary cities. They want to take care of transgender for everybody, literally the mutilization of our children, men in women's sports. But what they don't want to do is give us anything to do with citizenship for voting or voter ID. Can you imagine? We're the only country that doesn't do voter ID. Every country does voter ID. Brought to my attention today that we're the only country that does mail-in voting. Mail-in voting means mail-in cheating. I call it mail-in cheating. And we got to do something about it all. And it's part of Homeland Security. And I'm suggesting strongly to the Republican Party, don't make any deal on anything. The most important thing we can have is what's called the Save America Act. Don't make any deal on anything unless you include voter ID, and you have to be a citizen to vote. You have to show citizenship to vote. Very easy to do. It's very insulting when they say people can't do it because they don't know how to do it. Anybody that can't do it, I think it's a very insulting thing to say. The Democrats are fully to blame with the struggle of the great American public is going through at the airports. They're going through a big struggle right now, and we just put ICE in charge, and they're helping TSA, the agents, and they're working together so far very well. I actually suggested that in the airports they take off their masks, and they did that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that for a second, but he mentioned something about the Democrats only want to help the criminals, the illegal immigrants and stuff like that. Do you know who Chris Murphy is? Senator Chris Murphy?
Not really.
Okay, so Senator Chris Murphy, he's a Democrat. He's one of these guys he's just TDS. You know, he's got like a rabid case of TDS. So he was on this is MSNBC, so this is a while ago. And he said the quiet part out loud. Every now and then these guys will say something that you're just like, did I hear you correctly? You heard him correctly. So he's being asked about the Democrats' agenda for 30 years and how it's working and whatever. And he says the thing that Donald Trump is constantly talking about. They only want the criminals. And, you know, if you are a Democrat or you've ever voted Democrat, you're like, well, maybe they don't really just want criminals, but, you know, we want to project our love, and we want to help the immigrant, and we want to, you know, there's American dream. You project it all.
Right. And everybody needs a little restitution now and then.
Sure. But the purpose of a political party is to acquire power. It is to acquire and accumulate power and use it. It's not there to lower your taxes. It's not there to provide social safety services. It's not there for national defense. It's not there to help you pursue happiness or your American dream or secure the privileges of life and liberty. The purpose of a political party is to get power. And
it sounds like you're describing the Hells Angels.
Okay, that's a faction, right? But the purpose of a political party is to get power. Now, the people who want that power might want to lower your taxes or whatever, but in order to do those things, they first have to acquire power. So when a political party and the people who work in, with it, and around it drink the Kool-Aid of power accumulation by any means necessary, okay? It used to be people like Hillary Clinton said, well, we have one policy for the campaign trail and another policy for you, the bankers. So they still at least had some coherent principles, but they would just say whatever to whoever to get your vote. And this is retail politics. This is happens all the time. Like, you know, why does Lindsey Graham get elected? Because he went to the Sunday prayer breakfast and kissed the baby and said, I care about this small community. Meanwhile, he's selling you up the river. Okay. They care about acquiring power. So Chris Murphy here exposes the whole game. Who do the Democrats care about? Because what's their power base? And this goes back to Keir Starmer, right? You for years have been nipping at the heels of the conservatives, forcing them to what? Feed your power base until you got power. And now you're wholly unprepared to rule.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine fund, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So you are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Did you catch it?
No, I was busy thinking about something else for a second.
And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Did you catch it?
Oh, I did that time. The people that care about most, the undocumented folks.
And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
You know, when I think of Connecticut, I think of mass migration.
Because it's right on the border.
Did you catch it?
Yeah.
So it makes more sense now why Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are rabidly anti-ICE, rabidly anti-anything, and they don't care if you have to wait in line 900 hours at TSA. The rest of the world's on lockdown. At least you get to fly.
Look, Congresswoman, Tom Homan was up on the Hill negotiating, trying to get this bill passed in the Senate. You've seen the White House give on lots of things, cameras, identification on ICE. The White House has given and given and given. Fact of the matter is Chuck Schumer is just a chicken shit, I'll say it, because he's concerned that he's not going to be the majority leader. He doesn't want to pass anything that doesn't just blow up ICE. And so that's why we're stuck here. It's not anything to do. Everybody knows what has to be done. Chuck Schumer won't allow it to be done in the Senate. And that's where we are. American people, call the Senate, complain to Chuck Schumer, tell him to pass the bill now.
Why would Chuck Schumer be concerned about being majority leader? He's not. He's in the minority. Oh, because it's about power. And where do they get their power? The undocumented migrants that they've been importing into this country for the last 4 years, 20 million plus, and probably another 20 million over the 20 years prior to that. That's where they get their ballots. That's where they get their votes. That's where they get their brown shirts and their people who will go and protest and rally for them. That's what they're for. Chris Murphy said it before. The people we care about most, the undocumented migrants in this country.
Oh boy.
And Chuck Schumer won't do anything that does anything to kick them out or let them not vote or anything like that. It's fully exposed here if you just choose to see it.
Right.
We're not arguing about tax rates. We're not arguing about, should we or should Iran not have a nuclear weapon? This is about Democrats absolutely trying to grasp and hold on to what last shreds of power they can. And there is nothing they won't do to get it. If the Democrats take power again, what's going to happen to conservatives is what Scott Adams said. You will be hunted. You will be hunted. You will be marginalized. You will be taxed. You will be punished. You will be hunted. Maybe not physically, but you will be hunted. You will be compelled to take vaccines, which will hurt you. You will be compelled to go on lockdowns. You will pay prices that make it unaffordable to eat healthy food. You will be hunted because you don't give the Democrats power. And that's all they care about. They sold our country out a long time ago. They realized when Reagan swept the nation and all they got left with Mondale, Minnesota, that they were never, ever going to win over on socialist policies, which had utterly failed in the 60s and 70s. Ronald Reagan came in and he coined the term welfare queen, and he turned the nation against that type of thing. He renewed the challenge. That's not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. He tried to lift you up. Okay. He tried to get you to restore American might, pride, to collapse the Soviet Union.
Conservatism.
Okay. And Clinton ran in that shadow. And the first thing he did, his big thing was get rid of start NAFTA, which hollowed out our country because we weren't proud enough to keep it. Oh, we need to help Mexico and we need to help Canada because they don't have a good government. So we need to give away our factories to them. And then we let China into the World Trade Organization and gave him most favored nation status. They did that to hollow out you, the people who listen to this show, conservatives. If the Democrats ever get power again, you saw what they did the last 4 years. If you speak against them, shoot. I mean, you speak against them, you go to prison. Yeah. But they will come after you. It's hard to believe that, but we can't be unproud of who we are as a people, and we've got to be consistent. I've got to take care of my family, and I've got to provide every day, and I want to afford that right to anybody, but I don't expect to pay for someone who doesn't work. It's just that simple. We learned this in Jamestown. Right? We learned this with the first boat that showed up in America. We learned that if you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a harsh reality.
It's a harsh reality. But we tried socialism literally in the first couple iterations of colonizing America, and it didn't work. And it still doesn't work because it constantly has to consume someone else's efforts. China has to take our gold. They sell you their trinkets and they take your gold. It's mercantilism. It has to work that way. And eventually they run out of people to steal from. And then the thing self-implodes and we start all over. Tom Homan promises they're going to get the airports back online. And from all reports, it sounds like the airports are.
Trump made a brilliant move this week, and he called me and says, let's send ICE to the airport. I thought it was a smart move. And we're filling the holes. The wait lines are already dropped. Plus, we're doing a security function at the airports. We're going to arrest criminals going through this airport. We're going to look for human trafficking, sex trafficking, money smuggling. We're going to be at the airports working with our brothers and sisters in TSA. They're our brothers and sisters within DHS. President Trump made a smart move. We're going to keep the airplanes flying. We're going to get the American people to those lines quicker. And we're not going to give up President Trump's promise to American people to make this country safer every day. And that's what we're going to keep doing.
This in San Francisco, they already had illegal immigrants arrested at the airport. There was footage of it. This was CNN reporting.
Finally, we can take a deep breath here. The numbers have dropped off. The lines are getting shorter. I think the average wait time now is under 40 minutes. So if you have a flight to catch today, it's a good time to come to Hartsfield-Jackson International.
Well, flights are, apparently, as of this morning, it's back to normal air travel. It's like lickety-split. So now the Democrats who have tried to create this pressure valve, right, this pressure thing where they can coerce the Republicans to, defund ICE and all this. No, we'll just go and we'll just arrest them at the airports. These are like built-in checkpoints. It's brilliant. Why weren't we doing this all along, Ron? That's what's going to come. The Democrats over and over and over again. We used to say on the job site, you just keep stepping on your dick. Right? They just keep doing it, man. Like everywhere they turn, they think they get a point of leverage, and Trump just strips it away. Oh, we're going to go on worldwide lockdowns. Well, I'm about to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Why are you doing that, silly bean? Meanwhile, the people in Australia are like, we're starting to think our government hates us. Donald Trump was on the tarmac answering questions.
Right, let him do that. And I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. We're not going to have the Democrats destroy our country. These people are the most destructive, sick people, the Democrats. And they're fighting for this. They're fighting for men and women's sports. They're fighting for transgender for everybody. Everybody go out, get your kid a nice operation, and change the sex of your kid. They're fighting for, think of it. It's great. Let him do it.
These people are sick, and they really are. Again, Trump was right about everything. And Divinity 143, this is not necessarily a Trump sycophant show, but he's a good guy.
It's amazing. They're people that are really, really loyal and great, and it's not easy for them. And this is all caused by the Democrats. It's just so you know, all this money was approved. Everything was approved. This is done. The Democrats went in, and they want to have radical left lunatics come into our country. They want to have drug dealers. They want to have murderers come into our country. They want to have open borders, and we're not letting it happen. That's what this is all about. They don't want voter ID. They don't want proof of citizenship. They don't want mail-in ballots. They're so corrupt. What they want, the only thing they want is mail-in ballots. So we also added, as you know, into the Save America Act. And it's called Save America. It's not the Save Act. But we added no transgender mutilization of our children and no men in women's sports.
Makes sense. It feels so common sense. You're like, why can't you vote for this? We have the majority. Well, we got this filibuster thing. Why do we have the filibuster? Well, sometimes we don't want to do what you want us to do, so we want to cop out and blame it on 9 Democrats who won't cross over or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, this is wild. Okay. John Solomon, you know what? It's time for us to jump over into private.
All right.
But before we do that, we're going to play a little synopsis so people know what we're going to talk about over there. We're going to listen to the Supreme Court yesterday because they heard all arguments about accepting ballots after election day. Okay, so this Supreme Court decision alone is enough to shift the election significantly. In California, if you stopped counting on election day, I think we'd have like 3 or 4 more Republican House of Representative members. If you stopped counting on election day in a handful of these states, we'd probably have a total of 10 more Republican representatives. Because the voting after election day, when you don't even have to have a stamp on the envelope showing up 21 days after the election, gives you a lot of time to stuff ballots. You know what I mean? So Harmit Dillon summarizes it for us, and we'll kind of end on this.
Is it legal for states to continue to allow ballots to trickle in after the official federal election day in November and count them? Or is that inconsistent with our federal election statutes? That's the question that the United States Supreme Court confronted today in a very interesting, more than 2 hours oral argument that I had the privilege of witnessing. We at the Civil Rights Division, where we're charged with enforcing our federal election laws, had the privilege of co-authoring a brief with our Solicitor General, who then argued it in court today, together with 2 of the other top oral advocates in the country, including former Solicitor General Paul Clement, who argued for the Republican National Committee to uphold the lower court ruling from the Fifth Circuit that indeed the practice of Mississippi, and by the way, parenthetically, many other states, of allowing ballots to trickle in and be counted days and sometimes even up to 3 weeks after an election is inconsistent with our federal election statute. So now in prior cases, the United States Supreme Court has addressed these types of issues. And Justice Kavanaugh wrote in a case in 2020 that these kinds of disparate trickling in and uncertainty and, a wide swath of different kinds of laws creates uncertainty around elections and indeed undermines confidence in our elections. So we argued in our brief that because Congress has these laws that refer to an election day should mean election day, meaning the last day by which ballots can be received by the state and processed. And so here, Mississippi allows it for 5 days. Some states allow it for 10 days, up to 21 days. 8 states don't even require a postmark on mail ballots. So for those of you who are concerned about whether this would impact our military abroad being able to cast their ballots, it doesn't, because there's a special statute for that under federal law, so there's no preemption issue. And so here I saw a very spirited argument. All of the 9 justices asked questions. I think there was a distinct trend in how some of these justices were viewing this. And this isn't Mississippi's first trip to the Supreme Court. There was a case called Foster versus Love in 1997, where it was kind of looking at the opposite end of the spectrum. Mississippi had a open primary law that said that at the primary level, if any particular candidate, even a federal election, got a majority of the votes, that was the end. There was no need for a general election. And the Supreme Court held that this violated the very statutes that we're looking at here about a federal general election day. And so it's going to be interesting to see the court reconcile that prior decision, some other decisions by the court, and look at the legislative history. And so I'm really excited to see this case come out. And if it comes out the way that the United States is arguing at the Civil Rights Division, Solicitor General's office, i.e., that it is inconsistent with federal law for states to continue to process and accept these ballots after the election day being the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, set by federal law way back in the mid-1800s, I think that's actually going to be a positive development for voter confidence in the outcome of our elections, regardless of your party, because we're going to know that final means final, and there aren't some shenanigans with a bunch of people, your neighbor or whoever, delivering a dump of ballots into the mail after the election day. So stay tuned for further developments in this case.
I always remember the Gregoire election. Oh, we got these ballots in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Oh, we got these ballots up in Spokane. And Seattle's like, we found more ballots. And it was like dueling car trunks with ballots going on.
Yeah. And it went through 3 recount cycles. And then they're like, oh, we got the number we needed. Let's stop recounting.
and now we're going to institute all mail-in ballots and allow you to up to 14 days. And also we're going to have these Dominion machines, which are really great. We've got these Venezuelan sales reps. They're awesome. Yeah, totally. All right, guys, we're going to jump over into private. Don't forget to be a premium subscriber on Rumble so you can join us in private, where the unoffendables talk about the things that no one else really wants to talk about. So let's jump on over there.
Pew.